Taren Marsaw, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm good. How are you all?
Doing
Now,
good, team. Doing good. Now I said I was gonna put you in the hot seat.
You
Do you
are?
remember? Do you know how many years it's been?
It's been 5 or 6.
About 5 or 6. Okay, good.
Yeah,
So I was in the bottom part. Every now and
absolutely.
then that pandemic throw me off. I'm just, yeah, it throw me off.
Yeah, it was definitely before then because people were outside.
Yeah, that's true. That
hmm
is true.
Miss Taryn, I'd like to ask you, and first I'd like to thank you for sitting in with us. I know how busy Thursdays can be for professionals, especially business owners, entrepreneurs like ourselves. So thank you so much. Um, Practicing in a city or a market the size of Houston with so many business owners and entrepreneurs, how has not only your services been needed, how have you expanded your services to serve all the differing needs of different types of business owners and entrepreneurs? Because that brand protection is something that I think we need to share that message out there in the audience. So could you just talk a little bit about not only your attorney, your brand, but also what it is you do for business owners?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for having me. So, what I do is very unique in my space. To give you a little bit of background, before I went to law school, at the age of 16, I will go back there. I became a photographer. So that was
Okay.
my first business. And when I went to college, I went to Spelman. And when I was there, of course, in the heart of Atlanta, media is everything. So
Yeah.
I was hustling with my camera. And the more businesses that I would come across, they would say, well, you took pictures. Can you also do graphics? Can you do website design? And so I needed to hustle to put, clothes on my back and things like that while I was in college. So I taught myself web design, branding, all of the things before Instagram, before all of Facebook wasn't even out. Facebook is like the first year Facebook was like
Oh
popping
wow.
and people were coming on Facebook. And so when I did get my law license, I had so much experience with business already and helping to build brands from a creative side that I was like, well, there's so much that I've learned in law school that a lot of people are making mistakes on. This is not stuff that you learn every day or that you come across. And so I said, moving forward, when I work with my branding agency clients, I have to bring in the law
Yeah.
because it does no good to give you a pretty business card and you're going to get sued, you know?
You gonna get sued. That part, no doubt about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
That is
So,
I think that's great though. That's very unique that you developed that skill set. But you know what? I will honestly say Atlanta was one of those breathing grounds for just being, building that hustle inside of you and then finding ways to grow. That's crazy. That's what's up.
yeah, and I think that too, when you start talking about what business owners need, you see if you look at even the last 10 years, it's changed so much
Yes.
because, we talk about like when Instagram came around, you said something about like, when did you first get on Instagram? Remember when it first came out, everybody just wanted to use filters. And it was
Yeah.
like, take a picture of your food and take a picture of yourself, and that was it. And
That's
now, yeah, we're not even 10 years away from that part of what Instagram was,
Mhm.
and how it's making people millionaires within months.
yeah.
And so the needs are changing. People who are starting businesses, they're going viral really fast, and then they're having to hire people. But if you don't know anything about hiring and you don't know the law about hiring, chances are you're breaking the law,
Yeah.
even with
Mm.
your hiring people, right? And so I've seen some very interesting things. Like I've seen young girls who are influencers and they try to enforce dress codes for the women that they hire. So we need you to wear heels. We need you to wear makeup. Your hair has to. Some of
Oh,
those restrictions are against the law. And so
Wow.
when we're talking about brand protection, it's not just about, do I get my logo copyrighted? Do I have this trademark? It's about, what are you doing? Where are you growing? Where's your business now? Where will it be 6 months, a year, 5 years from now? And let's start having these conversations.
Wow.
the funny thing, and I thank you so much for sharing, is that social media, to your earlier point, there are so many entrepreneurs that are building their brands and they're exploding on the scene and they're going from 0 to 100 in 6 months. 18 months, 2 years. What are some of the things that you've seen from a professional standpoint that most social media entrepreneurs are doing incorrectly, and it could keep them from achieving those successes that they see in their mind's eye?
Oh, it's a few things. The first thing that is the most prominent is that they build their business backwards. And so what they do is they go and they get a logo, they get an LLC made, and then they get their handle for their social media, get a Square or Stripe or Cash App, and then they're in business. And then I can't tell you how many clients on the intellectual property side come to me and they are like, it'll be like a Sunday, I'm in church and my phone will not stop ringing. And when I answer it, I know it's, my influencer folks, and they'll say, I just got a letter and I have 30 days to either completely change my entire business or I'm going to get sued. And it's because they didn't do the proper research at the beginning. So they're like, ooh, I'm the Louisiana real estate queen.
Yeah.
And now I've got 1 million followers. And then Texas real estate king says, wait a minute. No, you can't do that. That's my brand.
Yeah.
But she never knew because she was only thinking about Louisiana. And she's the queen and not the king. And so you're right. And so it's these nuances where
that's some things, because we had a guest that actually did that. Like she changed her handle to I think it was Boston Real Estate Queen, like because of
yes, I remember that, Larry. That's a very great point.
Can't do that.
Now, Taren, I have to ask, because Larry and I both agree with you that that's the type of thing you want to take care of on the front end, because you don't want to get that menacing letter in the mail after 2 years and you've built up your brand and you have quite a following. Mm-hmm. Now, for those that are in their cubicle, checking us out on their computer, at home, checking us out on their cell phone, who's listening to us in their car, but still driving safely, and they're thinking to themselves, I'm just starting. I'm not in a position to need the help of an attorney, especially someone as talented as Ms. Taren Marsaw. What do you say to that person who's just starting their Instagram account and they have one single follower?
There's no greater time to start
than
now.
The foundation.
Yeah, it is the foundation. The taller you see yourself going, the more time you spend on your foundation. And so, and then also, I mean, think of any relationship. Your business is a relationship and you're going to spend plenty of time in that relationship. But you think about a relationship, how do you want it to start? Do you want it to start with like nothing going on in the beginning? It's beautiful. It has a honeymoon phase, because that's really how you want your business to start as well. You don't want a whole bunch of drama and chaos when you do launch. So I do tell people there are options. I have a course, and the course right now for November, which is my birthday month and Black Friday month. Hey.
I know that's right. Get ready, get it loaded.
Yes. So it's on sale right now to celebrate. And so it's super affordable entry for someone just starting. It's under $300. And that, it's 4 hours of me literally saying, hey guys, here are where your lawsuits are. If you can dodge these, you'll be clear, at least to start you out.
Yes, and I mean, definitely so they need to find, what website do they need to go to get that? That's ideal, because when you're getting started in this thing, something like that is ideal to have in place when building out your foundation. I mean, I wish that we had things like that back then when I first got started in business and started trying to understand what that looks like. That's the foundation right there. Just pouring back into yourself to make sure that you're doing it the right way.
Yep, it's at marsawlaw.com. So you'll be asked to download a freebie, which is amazing. I spent a lot of time making sure that every question that I typically get is answered in there. So that freebie by itself is going to be worth at least $100. Wow. And then once you get through that, you'll see everything that's inside the course. So the majority of your concerns, if you're worried about this $1 million idea you know that you have, but you're scared to market because it's big dogs out here that'll swoop up and take it. Or even, the homie next door who has been watching you very carefully. And it seems like every time you come up with an idea, they take it.
Hey, hey, that's what they showed me in Billions. When I watch Billions, they like, we're going to come get that idea.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So the businesses that are larger, that have more capital, they have more resources, and they can get an ad up within 24 hours while you're still hustling trying to get capital to create an ad campaign. So there are things that for the underdog, or not even the underdog, the person that's new and you have this idea that you really want to protect, there are things that you need to know so that you can fight and you can maintain your intellectual property rights against those big dogs. And so I talk about that inside the program.
No, what's so impressive about you having the courses because that would keep the early adopter, that new business owner from having to reach out to you and schedule hours of consultation. You can get them started on the fundamental level through your course. And as they scale and grow, then they can reach out to you as far as tutelage on how to properly expand and still stay within their legal rights and responsibilities. So could you talk about those more established businesses that are at the point where they feel like, okay, we have a viable business, we have a great plan in place, and it's time to reproduce this similar plan and just expand it over different markets. Could you talk about some of the things that you do to help people that are in that position?
Oh, absolutely. That's my favorite. So I love that you said reproduce what we already have, because
Mhm.
once these businesses have a recipe for success and they're like, okay, we know how it works in our market, we're going to go to this next market. What typically happens is the concerns change. And so now you're not in the day to day because you can't be in two places at once. So what you're experiencing at that point is, how do I keep my employees from competing with me? How do I make sure that the trade secrets and the things that I'm using in order to come into the market, and that's on both sides. That's recruiting new talent, right?
Mhm.
Because that's part of your trade secret, knowing where to go to find good people. But then it's
Yeah.
also what's out in the market. So how do we price, and then how do we have structures so that we keep our clients longer? So if somebody buys from us and then they normally at the 4 month marker they buy something else more expensive and it's like hidden behind the scenes, all of those things have to be protected once you go into a new market, and you're not there every day, so your relationship with these people is not so scary. They're not thinking, well, I have to see Larry, through town. They don't have to see you if you're coming and going. You're just their boss. And
that's right.
so at the point of scale, what I have found is that website design, that coding technology, scaling your business using technology is so much safer than the paper and pen kind of manual way. And so, what I tell people all the time is that you can hide your trade secrets using automation, because let the computer do the mass of your thought process and kind of like think like
Mm.
you. And then once your computer is just spitting out the little recipe, the end of the recipe that tells people, check this, check this, check this, they don't know everything that happened beforehand. So they can't reproduce your exact strategy.
Mm. I thank you
You
so
know,
much for
speaking of
sharing
that,
that
that's
type of
really cool.
information. Go ahead, Larry, please.
I was sitting there thinking, because I'm like, I've seen you on your IG page talk about automation and things like that. And I know that comes from some of the coding that you have in your background. And I think that's an ingenious ideal. Now, are you and your team able to do that for any business, or what is an ideal business for you being able to produce something like that? Because when I seen the reel or the demonstration that you did, I was just like, wow, like everybody needs this. I mean, it
Yeah.
leverages you up in exactly what you just said. So is that something you are able to do for any business?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a saying, and it's, if your business has steps 1, 2, 3, and then you're out of the door, then it can
Yeah.
be automated.
Wow.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that, because what makes knowing someone like you so powerful and the value of having someone like you on any entrepreneur's power team is that you have the experience of hearing everyone's horror stories. Larry can attest to this. When you're out networking and you're around successful business owners, we exchange best practices,
Mhm.
but they're not always as candid about some of the challenges that we've all run into as far as being business owners, being business builders, and entrepreneurs. So, what are some of the things that you have to continuously impart upon entrepreneurs to let them know that we can't skip these steps? Are they more about organization? Is it more about recruiting talent? Because as you mentioned, some of the things about automation that you brought up are things that you wouldn't know would be a problem until they're a problem. Having someone like you with that type of knowledge base helps to put people ahead of the game. So, how often are people just totally mind blown when you explain to them the value of automation and how you're protecting them on the front and the back end?
All the time. Every single conversation about automation, because most people think of automation as either too scary, too technical. I don't even want to think about that.
Right.
Or they're like, oh, I know automation. And when they think of automation, they're like, I can send an invoice and I can have my email sent on a scheduler.
Yeah.
And so when they come to me, what I always do is I'm like, let's not talk about anything technical. Tell me, if you had your perfect personal assistant, what would they do for you?
Yeah.
And from that, if they're like, oh, and all I got to do is what I like in my business, and I'm like, yeah, give me that dream. And then we can pretty much automate all the stuff they hate.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so it's when you think about automation, you literally think about it from this standpoint. Don't think about anything technical. The only thought process is, what do I do on repeat that I hate doing?
Yeah.
And you can literally write that out and it can be automated. But one of the things to answer this question, because I do think this is a really good question for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Automation has ways of protecting you when the laws change. And so let me explain to you what I mean. Most people, and especially on social media, everybody talks about non-compete contracts and non-compete provisions.
All the time.
Okay. So the FTC, who is the government agency that controls like what type of restrictions we can have in our contracts, this year in 2023 is now proposing that non-compete restrictions no longer be legal. Businesses they don't even know that it's coming, but in the legal world, everyone is like, what the heck are people going to do if they can no longer stand on a non-compete? That is chilling for a business owner, because that means that anybody you bring in is now your competitor. So automation, right? So now can you hear me?
Yeah. So like, how do you? So how would Because even that, with that being said, that's even the shiniest nail. Because when I sit down with people, they always got creative ideas, but they again want me to sign a non-compete because of where we are. Like how do you I don't even know how someone would be able to share their vision if they don't know how to implement it themselves. Like, how do you share your vision with someone if you can't be like, listen, I don't want you stealing this?
Well, so the NDA is still available. So the non-disclosure is still available.
Non-compete. I'm sorry, non-compete is. I done taught you the game.
Right.
You trying to take.
Yeah. They're so easy to mix up.
That's right.
They're so easy to mix up. But the non-compete says, okay, I'm going to bring on somebody into my real estate firm, and I'm going to have them, even if they're just your assistant, but I'm going to have them see my whole book of business. They can see every single networking event that I go to, what brings in the most money when I do certain things in my business. They see my whole workshop. There's nothing to stop them if the non-compete doesn't work. There's nothing to stop them from going to the Louisiana real estate queen and taking your entire recipe and saying, girl, let's make this money. So that's the scary part of the non-compete. But here's the thing. So let's say that is what you're trying to do, and you do need an assistant. Well, guess what? If you don't want to give her your book of business, but you're like, hey, I need to send out text messages to everybody about a party that I'm about to have and a networking event and this, that, and third, automate it. Because automate it. She'll never see your book of business. She'll never, for what? She doesn't have to. It's on a schedule. Everything that you have on your calendar is pre-planned. You sat there for an hour and scheduled your whole year. And so now when your assistant comes in, you know, hey, I got some things going on in the back. So you might get a phone call or two about an event, but you're not going to see my whole client list ever.
Wow. That makes sense.
No, because, oh my God, it's so powerful, because from what I'm taking from this conversation is that automating those steps in your business